welcome back to videos on our trip from Bahamas to United States amid the COVID-19 outbreak. Well, we arrived in the Bahamas on March 17th, just as COVID-19 awareness and increases in infections were increasing globally. And we arrived in Bahamas just 2 days before they closed the country. But by the end of March, we decided to be best to head back to the United States. So our trip took us from Long Island, Bahamas, back to Staniel Cay around April 1st, and then from Staniel Cay we sailed directly to Middle Bight in one day, as shown in our last episode, number 45. Andros is not a frequent destination for cruisers, particularly southern Andros, where the conditions are very challenging. In the bights of Andros, the currents are really quite wicked, and there's reversal of currents, in our case happening in the middle of the night, so you better be well anchored. Andros is quite an interesting island, and we would really have liked to stay, but with the island closed, we decided to head off and go directly to the United States. So we sailed from Andros up the north coast along the barrier reef. Andros has a barrier reef that's 190 nautical miles long, and it's about 1 to 1.5 miles off the island. After leaving Middle Bight, we headed north just outside the barrier reef towards the north tip of the island, where we planned to stop for the night before heading across the Gulf Stream to Fort Lauderdale.
I lose my breath whenever I see you. You stole my heart, what is it that you do? My life was great till you added colors. Like the moon needs the sun, we don't care about the others. I just wanna love
discovered a whole slew of cruise ships anchored in about 60 to 70 feet of water, quite victims on the prevailing winds.
The Bahamas government announced last night that they're allowing cruise ships into Bahamas ports, but only without passengers, and nobody's allowed to disembark. With good weather, we've just taken the main down and we've decided to head over the banks, and we'll anchor in the shallows overnight, a little later. It's just 3:30 right now. The banks are shallow, 10 to 12 feet deep, and some wouldn't venture over at night. But we only draw about 4.5 feet with our dagger boards up, and we felt comfortable sailing past dark with the full moon up, and because we've traveled this route many times before. It's not the first time I see balloons floating on the ocean. Those balloons that go up, they usually do come down, and that's a hazard for wildlife. Towards Bimini on the VHF, the Bahamas police were announcing about every 15 minutes that the borders were closed and that no one was to enter or exit the country. But I've read all of the decrees from the Prime Minister by following the government site. It seems that many islands do interpret things differently, so we left without stopping and we're on our way to the United States. We had checked in online to the United States, and about 10 miles off the coast, we were welcomed by the U.S. Coast Guard. We were also welcomed by a little bird who landed on our boat.